This is Mary of Alaska Stories.
And this is Mike. In this edition, we're looking at Adventure in Alaska, the Captain William Moore story. Hardy dreamers and adventurers navigated the waterways, discovered gold, and built towns in Alaska. Captain William Moore was just such a man. Moore was a steamship captain, businessman, miner, and explorer. He was known to his friends as Buddy and the Flying Dutchman. He first came to what would become Skagway, Alaska, in the spring of 1887 as part of a Canadian survey expedition. The original Alaska Tlingit people called the area Skagway, meaning home of the north wind, or windy place. The name Skagway is the English adaptation of that word.
There was going to be a gold rush. Because of spending time exploring with George Carmack, who we will take a look at in a moment, Moore had become convinced that a major gold strike would take place in the Canadian Klondike. After first seeing the Skagway area, Moore returned in October 1887 to Homestead, but he had much bigger plans. He was going to set up a town and a wharf to take care of steamships arriving with miners and supplies. All of this so he could cash in on the gold rush.
Mary mentioned George Carmack earlier. Carmack went on to discover gold along a tributary of the Yukon River. The creek was called Rabbit Creek, but after Carmack's gold strike, it was renamed Bonanza Creek. So, Captain Moore was right.
Now Moore set himself up to profit from the gold stampede that began in 1897. Welcome to Mooresville. Those arriving to the area found themselves at Moore's Wharf and in the town of Mooresville. His settlement became a boom town overnight and the gateway to the Klondike Gold Rush. Moore was on a path to become very wealthy.
When Captain Moore had returned to the area to set up his town, he brought his adult son Ben with him.
That's right, Mike. And somehow Ben got hold of a very young moose. He named the moose Carnation and kept it in his yard. He also hooked the moose up so that it could pull a small two-wheel cart. Ben even showed off Carnation and the cart in a few parades.
Not so fast, Moore. The gold stampeders pushed Moore aside and took over the town, and they decided to rename the town Skagway. While taking over, the stampeders literally pushed Moore aside. A surveyor named Frank Reed plotted a new town layout. As a result, Captain Moore's cabin had to be moved to a different location in the new town. Now here's a note. On July 8, 1898, Frank Reed, who was a surveyor and had just laid out the new town, would become famous for killing a con man known as Soapy Smith in a gunfight on Juneau Wharf in Skagway.
I'm out of here, or not. Captain Moore ended up leaving Skagway for a time, but not for long. When Moore returned to Skagway, he built a new house next to his original cabin. His new home included a second-story room that was set up like a pilot house on a steamship. That way, he could look out the window and watch the ships in the bay.
Captain William Moore left Skagway for good in 1907. He moved to Victoria, British Columbia, where he spent the remainder of his days. Yes, Moore had realized his dream of establishing a town as the gateway to the Klondike Gold Rush. But his dream didn't turn out like he had envisioned. Instead, he had lost fortunes along the way. The story of Captain William Moore is a great example of the many adventurous pioneers who came to Alaska and paved the way for many others. Until next time, Mike and Mary Alaska Stories.